Hey everyone, it's Rhonda here from Nelson Soapery. Today, let's get into a video all about making this absolutely beautiful candle. So you can see how large this jar is. It's actually a bowl style candle, and we're going to be using some coconut soy to make this absolutely gorgeous. And I will actually show you a really good way so that you'll know how to wick this really well, because that's the hard thing, isn't it? When you get a really big bowl like this, you think, how do I actually wick it, and what is the best way to actually do it? So I'm going to show you something a bit tricky. So now you can see here that I have this on, just like a bit of paper here. So we're going to draw a line around the outside of the paper, and then I'll show you exactly what we're going to do. So this is just a paper towel. You can use anything you want, but this was going to fit it. So let's just draw around it. And, just roughly, it doesn't matter. So now we're going to take that off so you can see that this is roughly how it's going to be. And then I'm going to cut the circle. So let's just cut this, and you can see to the side here my gorgeous pink paper. I have actually created that in, in Canva in conjunction with Cricut, because Cricut actually cuts it out perfect, and most of you know I actually love using that for the exact measurements, and the cutting tool is what I really and truly love. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect, this thing here, but this will just actually give us an idea on where we're going to put the wick. So now we've got the circle out. So now this one here, we are going to just fold it in half, and now we're going to fold it in half again. And now Pure Candle Supplies actually taught me this. They're so clever thinking of these things, and that's because they've tested it. So now you can see you've got your cross and your cross. So we're going to have one in the middle. So that is where one wick is going to be. And then you can see here along this line, we're going to put one here. So just, look, you can do it exact if you want, but it doesn't need to be exact. It's just roughly, we want to just kind of go here, here, and here. So that's going to give you your points on, exactly how you want this to be. And obviously that's going to allow this kind of burn, this burn, this burn, and this burn, and so on. This is sort of how it's going to go. So at the moment, I do have some wicks that I got from Pure Candles, and these are the ones that I'm going to use. I will put a link in the description. I think they're a HTP 5.1, but I might be wrong. I will actually definitely tell you in the description, so don't worry about that. And we're going to work on a 9% fragrance load, and that's what I'm going to be doing today. You can mix lots of fragrances. These ones are my floral one, and I call it Dainty. And Dainty has lots of different, has some beautiful gardenia, some peony, some flower bomb kind of scent, and so on. It's just really, really beautiful. But this one is actually for myself at home, and then I'm going to burn it and see how it goes. This is really a test before I start to release these wholesale and through my site. So anyway, now we've done the wick. We know exactly where the wick goes. And the great thing with this is you're literally going to sit your see-through bowl on top, and then you can see the lines, so you know exactly where the wick's going to go. But before we do that, there's a couple of things we want to actually do. So what we want to do first is we want to clean it. So I've just got some isopropyl here. Let's just give it a bit of a spray. And this will actually just help us be able to put the wick down better, because sometimes it might have dust and things like that in. And plus, when it's a clear bowl, sometimes it can look a little bit messy. So now we have got this bit here. Let me just clean it. I'm sorry if I'm moving the microphone. But anyway, now this one is gorgeous. Look how beautiful that is now. So now what I also have here is I have printed these ones off. I actually made these particular patterns. This is like a pattern with an overlay lace pattern that I've made myself on Canva. So, and then I've just printed it off with a Cricut machine. That's why it's got this black line, because that's what Cricut actually does. And then it cuts it beautifully here. If you cut this by hand, you're not going to get it exact, and then all the pieces will not match up, because I want all these pieces to match up. Now, if you can see here, I have two the same way, and then this one is flipped. And the reason it's flipped is so that they will mirror each other when we put it on the edge of this bowl. Now, you definitely don't need to do what I'm doing here. This was just my idea of making it look gorgeous. So we're going to just pop this here, and let me move the camera. So now you can see that we've got the bowl here. So now what we're going to do is literally just peel one of the stickers. Now these are not on sticker paper. I've made these on printable vinyl, and the good thing with that is if I make a mistake, I can pull it back off. So literally this is all I'm going to do. I just want to stick it on here. And so you can see how it's going to go, and you can see I'll put it crooked, and that's why if you have a look, it comes straight off. So I'm going to have to be a little bit careful, and I'm sorry if the camera is not perfect, but it's going to take a bit of time and effort to get this gorgeous. And can you see how beautiful it looks with that pattern? I mean, you don't have to put a pattern on it. You could leave it plain, but it's going to be really beautiful if we can match it up. So we want to match the pattern up. So now you can see that this, like I said, the flower is here. And now I do have one of them, which is a reverse. And, you know, look, you don't have to match this up perfect. I mean, you don't need to kind of stress. I mean, this is for me. So if it's not perfect, it doesn't matter. But can you see how I've matched that pattern up now? So it matches together and it looks like it's one full piece. That's why I actually did the pattern that way. The hardest thing with doing something like this, to be really honest, is getting to the last piece and having it all matching. Because can you see how it goes on a bit of an angle? That's going to happen sometimes. And we may have to trim it or go back and have a look that it's straight, which it's probably not straight. So I'm just going to do this myself a little bit without the camera, and I'll come back in just a second. All right, I am back, and this is what it looks like. Look how pretty that looks. And let me show you where the join is. So this is the join. It's not perfect, but it's okay just for this go, and we'll see what we think. Sometimes too, if your jar is not exactly straight, it makes it very hard. So you don't have to put this on, but I just thought it will look really pretty. So anyway, now let's go and pop in our template down the bottom, and then we're just going to pop this over the top and make sure we get it pretty centered. And you can see the little dots here. So now all we're going to do is take off our little stickies. So let's just take these off. These ones are from Pure Candle Supplies as well. I bought these in a massive container, and they're so good. Like, honestly, really good. I've used some that aren't very sticky, but these ones are very sticky. So if you're looking for super strong ones, these ones are what I suggest. Now, also with something like this, honestly, if I can give you my honest opinion, you just really need to play around with the wicks and everything else, because any wick, I tell you, may not work with different fragrances, different waxes. I am using a coconut soy. But, you know, at the same time, I just don't want to, you know, promise anyone anything, because I could be, you know, wrong with it as well. But, you know, like I said, you just got to practice. And that's why I'm going to test these ones, see whether these wicks have worked really well as well. And I actually had these wicks because, as most of you know, I don't usually use cotton. I really don't. I usually do use wood wicks, but obviously wood wicks won't look very nice having 5 of them in here. So these ones will definitely look much nicer. I think these are a cotton threaded binded wick, which is really nice. And you can see, like, you know, you don't have to put it exactly on there, but that's pretty good. And you can see that, you can see how this would definitely melt everything and start to make it look really good. But we need to check that, don't we? And then, of course, once we have put the wax in, then we need something to hold these. Otherwise, they're just going to flop over. So you could just tie 2 pens together. You know, a kebab stick is really good because a kebab stick is quite long. And I might actually do that with a kebab stick. You can actually stick it together in a cross. So let me grab one. All right, so here is my kebab stick, and you can see that it fits both ways. But if you literally do something like this, and then you can just stick it together in the middle, it will, I've just got my little sticky tape to the side, and it doesn't need to be perfect because it's only for us, isn't it? And, you know, it doesn't really matter. We just want something, so it's going to hold it. So if you do something like that, It's literally going to hold things in place as long as we stick it properly. I'll fix that up in a second. Let me just go over this way. And this is all you need to do, everyone, just something like this, because you just want it to hold it in place. And then, of course, that's going to hold that. And you can do another kebab stick the other way to hold it. But before we do anything like that, of course, we need to mix up the wax. So now we've got that set aside. So let's pop that aside. I don't need that template anymore. And hopefully it's been quite easy for me, for you to understand the template, because it's really not hard. But, you know, sometimes I sort of get ones like that and I think, oh, how am I going to actually put the wick in? But that was a really good idea. So let me see if my wax is ready and we'll be on to the next bit. So now I have poured my wax in here. Now let me talk about the calculations of the wax. So do remember, if we're using 9% of wax, it doesn't mean that we're going to put the whole amount of wax that we need plus the fragrance. It means that we need to deduct the fragrance amount from the wax. Because, so I'm going to give you a bit of an example. So for this particular candle, Pure Candle Supplies say that it needs 1/600 grams. So 1.600. So 1,600 grams or 1.6 kilograms. So in that doesn't mean that this whole lot of the 1.6 is going to be wax. That means we need 1,456 grams of wax, and then we need 144 grams of fragrance. So I have measured out my fragrance just near me, which is just in this little glass jar here. So I'll pop that there. And like I said, I'm going to use 9%. You can use 10%, 8%, 6%, 7%. It's up to you and it depends. But I just find 9% to be a really good thing. And that way you have a 1% buffer. And when I say 1% buffer, that means most waxes can only take 10%. So if you put 10%, but then you put a tiny bit too much, you put too much and it may seep out of the wax. And then what happens is that's dangerous. You can't sell it. So that's why if you use a 9% fragrance load, like I said, you have a 1% buffer. It's similar to if you're a soap maker and you have that, 5% super fat. It's a bit of a buffer on your soap. So it's a similar thing for candles. That's how I do mine. Now, if you want to have a color, we can pop a color in now, and always look at your temperatures as well. So at the moment, this is 68, which is too hot for this particular wax. Now, I actually want to go and put in some dye. So I'm going to use this special dye here. So this one here is called a red candle dye. And this one is from Sud Off. It's a powder and it's just really, really beautiful. You can see it just in there. But you only need the tiniest little bit. So I'll show you what you actually need. So all we're going to do is literally, it's just the end of the little stick you can see here, and pop it in and you will start to see the color change. So can you see how much that color changed from the end of that kebab stick? So much. This is cherry red, but I don't want cherry red. I want it to be pink. So that tiny weeny bit I put in is probably enough just to dye your colors just a little bit, just to give it a little bit. And so make it sure that you're mixing it around and you have no extra bits in. And I really do love this particular, these particular dyes that I got from Sud Off. They are for candles, so they are not a mica, they are not a dye, they are actually a professional wax dye. So you can use those, you can use chips. There's lots of wax dyes, there's lots of liquids. I do find that the liquids discolor really fast, so that's why I don't like the liquids. Now, I'm going to show you this little product here. So inside this bag, it looks a bit squishy and it looks like milk powder, but this is what's called a UV stabilizer. And what that actually means is if you have color, or even if you have a white candle, it kind of helps it sort of stop going yellow, or it helps the color to stay longer, because colors do not stay forever in candles. You only need 0.1% of this in your candle. But what I always do is, once again, I just use the end of a stick, because you really honestly don't need much. It's just, you know, just a tiny weeny little bit at the end. It's just about this much. That's all you need. And we'll just pop that in, and you just mix it when it's hot. So we're going to mix this in. Now, we want this candle wax, we want this to get down to be around 50 degrees, and that's Celsius, so that we can add our fragrance in. All different waxes are really different, but Pure Candle Supplies, with their coconut one, it likes it to be at a very, very low temperature. If you were using 464 or something like that, this would be too cool already, because that is a much hotter wax. So let's just double check this. So it's saying 62, that is still too hot. We want this to get down to 50. So we may have to just leave this on the bench, let it do its little thing. And like I said, then we will come and add the fragrance in, and then we'll be on to the stage of pouring it. So let me come back in about 10 minutes time, and we will do the rest. All right, I have checked that my temperature is all gorgeous. So let's just pop in all of our fragrance. Just really slowly pop it in and start to mix it. You do need to mix this for roughly 2 minutes, everybody. So this is what I do. Just make sure you keep mixing. You don't have to use a spoon. You can use anything you want. I mean, you can see that I'm just using the kebab stick here. I definitely would say don't stir vigorously, because if you just like churn it up, you can put all the air bubbles and things like that, and then that is more likely to get your sinkholes later on. And you just want to really check that your temperature is good as you go along. So usually what I do with this is just mix it for about 2 minutes. Then I will check the temperature, and you can kind of tell with this one, because sometimes it can look a little bit cloudy when it's getting really cool, because we really want to be pouring this at around 45 degrees. We don't want it to be you know, any hotter than that, because otherwise it's just not going to give a beautiful smooth top. But if the top's not smooth, please don't panic. It's really easy. There's lots of things that you can do, you know, to fix that up. You don't need to stress or worry about that too much at all. And like I said, this is literally all we are going to do, is just make sure this is really, really beautiful. And then when we're finished, we are going to pour it straight into this beautiful candle. And can I tell you, it smells so beautiful. Really, really beautiful. It does smell like just that medium kind of scent of beautiful florals. Just really dainty, nice, gentle, delicate type of scent, which is really, really nice. Now, if you don't want to put colour, you definitely don't need to. You could leave this white, but I just thought, for the purpose of today, so that I could show you putting the colour in, the stabilizer in, the wax in, that we could talk about all of that and show you all these different things that you can do. Now, if you don't have the UV stabilizer, you definitely don't need to pop it in. But if you're selling in stores, I suggest that you do if you're putting a colour, because stores are not going to be happy if the colour goes funny. And can I tell you, they definitely do. I've also used liquid ones that don't go really well. So I'm going to show you one of mine that I used a liquid one, and it's really not good. So I'll show you. Now, this is one of my older candles. Now, can you see the colour and how it doesn't look very nice? That is my Blooming Rose, which I used a liquid dye, and I never do that ever. And can you also see the little roses that I've just stuck in here for pictures? I mean, you can easily pick these ones out. But they've also gone a funny colour, and I've noticed that with the liquid dyes, definitely. So I really don't like the liquid dyes. Somebody else may have better luck than me, but that's basically what happens with my liquid dyes. And when you put the lid on, sometimes that can be worse as well. And I know lots of you probably would put lids on, because they would be inside your studios or your home ready for sale. So usually, you know, you do them all up and you want to sort of get them ready to go, don't you? Well, we may just leave this for a little bit, and then we're going to come back just a tiny bit later. So now it is ready, and can you see how it looks a little bit cloudy? This is what this particular wax actually does, and we want it to be the right temperature. So there you go. It's around the 45, which is pretty good. That's what we want it to be. Anything from 43 to 45 is pretty good. So now you can see my crazy contraption. So literally I have just used kebab sticks just to hold all these things here in place. So now we are going to just really, really slowly pour straight in. I always pour away from the wick and just keep it in the same spot. I've noticed that gives less sinkholes. I don't know how true that is, but that's what I've just noticed. And I've also noticed that, you know, if you just try and pour lower rather than really high in the air, that also seems to help a little bit. As I said, you know, who knows whether that's true or whether it's not, but that's what seems to work so far for me. So I stick to whatever I'm thinking is actually working. Now, look how beautiful this has turned out. And I think Pure Candle Supplies are right on the money, because if you have a look at the measurements that they give on their website, that is pretty perfect. It's like a millimeter from the top, which is exactly what I would think that you actually want. So there we go. It is definitely done. We will see how these are. We might just have to neaten these up a tiny bit. And then we will see how we're going to go. And once it's all dried up and beautiful, I will bring you back to show you exactly what we're going to do next. Now, as you can see, it has totally done its little bit, which is so exciting. I mean, look how smooth and gorgeous it is. And that's the one thing I wanted to show everybody about this particular wax. So sorry, I'm just going to show you close up. If you can see how smooth it is. Now, it's like everything, you know, you need to get your temperatures right. You need to get everything right to make this work. Now, of course, my little sticky tape I can see has touched the bottom, so that will be messy, but that's okay. Once we take this off, which we'll take this off now, then we can use our heat gun to fix up anything. So even if yours isn't smooth, just get your heat gun and we'll fix that up. And I can see that I've made a bit of a mess with the middle of it, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. And you can see in the middle, that's just because I had this sticky bit which it's stuck on. So, but anyway, look how gorgeous that looks. I mean, it just looks so nice. And I hope you can see how pretty it is. So that will be inside my house, but it would look just as nice white because it has this beautiful sort of layering on it. Now it is quite warm. You could cut these, but you have to be careful not to damage anything. But I can cut them because I am going to use the heat gun just to heat over it. And you can use clippers. Honestly, even with wood wicks, I just use you know, I just use a pair of scissors. Does it really matter? No, not really. And as I said, this one is for me. So it doesn't matter if it's not perfect. It's just for me at home. So now what I'm going to do is get the heat gun over the top. And then I do have these little rocks and flowers, which I'm going to put in. As I said, this is for me. It is not to sell. You have to be careful in your country because sometimes you won't be allowed to put these on. But if you go to so many shops, you will see candles with flowers and rocks on. I don't know how they get around it because I'm pretty sure that you're not meant to do that anymore. But as I said, this one's just for me inside my home, and I will be watching it on the bench while I'm doing it. But I thought just for anyone that might want to do something at home for themselves, I'll just show you how easy it is to do it. Now, let's just put the heat gun on top. And I will show you what we're going to do. So just use it on low. And as I said, if you want to add your own little rocks or something, you're just going to go around the sides. And I'm just going to stick that in. Oops, it fell in because it is soft still. But as I said, once again, like I said, it's just for me, so it really doesn't matter. We're just going to make it so that it looks a little bit cute, and it's only going to sit on my table. I'm actually I wasn't going to light it, but I will, because I just want to see how these little wicks sort of work. But, you know, look, and this is what people are saying at the moment. It is a fire danger, and let's be honest, it actually is, because you've got all of these little leaves and things around wicks. But, I mean, I just see so many of them in shops, so that does surprise me still. But anyway, everyone to their own. We can't judge anyone else. So I just wanted to show everybody a pretty candle and how cute it can look. So I hope you do love this. I mean, look how pretty it is. It is really, really lovely, and it will solidify back to its gorgeous pink. And then, of course, we have made this absolutely darling candle. So I hope you've loved it today. If you have, make sure you give me a massive thumbs up, and I will see you on the next video. Bye, everyone. So here it is, everybody. We have lit this gorgeous candle. It's only just lit, so all of this will melt down soon enough. It will need a bit of time. I always say leave it for about 2 hours time just to see what your melt pool is going to be. So I will let you know what this is going to be in time, but look how beautiful it looks. It looks so, so nice sitting here. I know the camera doesn't show how gorgeous it is sitting in my lounge room on my little table. But I hope you've loved this video, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.